Today marks a journey into the unknown. For the next 3 races, our drivers will race tracks that have never shown up on the series schedule before. This will no doubt reveal who is the more adaptable of the competitors and give them a chance to shine. First up, we take a visit down under as we get ready to watch round 4 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is IMSA driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sandown is an Aussie circuit that is lesser known outside the boundaries of the country, but its history is legendary to locals. Let's take a closer look with our track guide. Welcome to Sandown International Motor Raceway. Located on the east side of Melbourne, Australia, like many older racetracks, it started life as a horse racing circuit. But unlike the numerous ovals that emerged from that trend, this one wound up as a road course. At just over 3 kilometers, or slightly under 2 miles, the 13 turns don't make it look terribly complex. However, once you get into the cockpit, you get a clearer picture that it's anything but simple. Of the various chicanes and 90-degree corners dotting the course, the first turn is one of the more open ones. In fact, both the front and back straights lead into very tough places to overtake. Turn 6 at the end of the backstretch is the more notorious one, with it being scarily fast, blending directly into 7, 8, and 9, as well as offering very little runoff to the outside. Meanwhile, Turn 4 and Turn 12 stand out as 2 of the most critical corners on the track. Both leading onto long flat-out runs means ideally you'll need to focus on your corner exits to ensure a better lap time. While Australian supercars steal the limelight, the place has also seen a variety of types of racing, from sports cars to open-wheelers and, of course, motorcycles. In fact, the famous Lotus 49 saw victory lane here at the hands of Jim Clark in 1968 in a non-championship F1 race. Local noise restrictions may have limited it to only 5 race weekends a year, but it still offers thrills to the numerous race fans who show up each and every time. Well, Joey, this has always been an interesting one to me, because most times we've seen horse racing tracks become just oval tracks, and that's not the case with this one.
I'm really excited to see how these Lotus 49 machines take to this racetrack. And as we see, we've got a couple of pretty big straightaway areas into some decent braking zones. But one thing to notice about some of these braking zones is that they're very tricky. They're not straightforward where you just go in straight hard on the brakes. Lots of times small bends into some curbing chicane areas. And I know that curbs can definitely throw these Lotus 49 chassis for a loop. And we'll have to see who takes advantage of them, or who maybe oversteps the limit.
Absolutely. And let's take a look at the championship, because we've got 3 rounds in, and lately Mick Claridge has been on a tear. Apologies, this looks like old points up here, but up at the top, Mick currently leads at 165 over Neil Kemp, who is down by 16 points currently. So he's losing ground quickly. And then it's not too far back to Jorge Nieva, who's having one of the best seasons in his career in the Grand Prix Legends, sitting in 3rd with Teemu Toika back in P4, and David Rossi running up 5th. Very close fight between David and Sebastian Tixier. Rossi finally up into that F1 championship. You can tell he's got a bright future ahead of him. Besides the F1 championship, we also have the F2 championship here. Joey?
Yeah, and F2, actually a really familiar name, Don Peak, currently leading the way right now with all 3 races scored for points. And then Timothy Porter rounding him out in 2nd place, Jan Steffen, Douglas Nelson, and Rolly Wallbank inside the top 5. And just with 3 races down this season, a lot of the 6th through 10th place and further on down are just starting to accrue their points and weeks raced here in this series.
As for the Nations Cup, the United Kingdom, with Mick bringing along a lot of points, is obviously leading, and the United States is actually behind them, with Spain in 3rd, Finland bringing up 4th. Finland at times is a competitor in this series for the Nations Cup, but surprisingly, despite how good they are at both the Camel and the Lotus 79s, they usually aren't showing up as often up at the top here in the 49s. As for race details, though, what have we got for that, Joey?
As we talked about, today is round 4 of 12. 31 laps here at this new, relatively, Sandown circuit. Open setups, which means all of these competitors have been working on tweaking and tuning their own car to fit them as best as they need today. No spare car, which means if these drivers pick up any damage, they're going to have to live with that or come into pit lane to get it fixed at, of course, that time penalty. Drive through at 17x and disqualification at 25. I don't think we're going to see any drivers approach that at all, but I feel like if you get shoved off here, there's lots of close guardrails that your day is probably done versus just the incident points.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I do know of one spot where they've got some paved runoff to the outside. That's up at the treacherous turn 6 right there. You can see it. But even then, it's not a whole lot to your outside if you lose control. So drivers have got to be careful because the Armco is right up against it. You can see them dancing around as they try to find better speed. Right now, we've got David Ross here on the screen. He's actually in 4th in qualifying, looking very good out there today. And his second lap, unfortunately, not going to be an improvement, so he gets shoved down. Oh, and Seb Tixier is now our quickest driver with a 1:05.1.
Really good lap from Tixier right here, and looking at Ben Zoko now as he completes a lap up into the 3rd place as well. Really impressive runs out of these top 5 so far.
Yep, and we do not have Mick Claridge here to try and hold on to that top spot. Now, he will get drop weeks this season, so that will help him out as we watch Plumley work his way through some of the various chicanes out of turn 4 and onto the back stretch, which has its own little kink there, and up to turn 6. Let's see how he handles this one. It's a bit of a rise, and it's a fast entry as it slows up back and forth, weaving down into 9.
Really interesting circuit, and you see these curbs and these braking zones. Like I mentioned, they're not straightforward. Who's going to overstep the limit maybe by going a little bit too deep in the brakes and then have to jump the curbs? I know that these chassis do not like heavy curb jumps, but here Robert Plumley seems to abuse them pretty good and get away with it without any problems.
Needs to go faster than a 106.6, and he does, but only by about a 100th of a second, so he does not go higher than his 12th position that he placed himself before. Jorge Nieva still needs to set a time, and he is looking like he's getting ready to set his first lap here soon as we watch Xavier Sanchez, who's also on to the back stretch. His first lap was a 105.7. That's about 0.6 off the pole, and he's looking like one of the most likely to maybe try and get up to that front row unless we get something spectacular out of Jorge Nieva. So let's see as he tiptoes his way through turn 9, just one more chicane, and that'll be the end of the lap.
It'll be really interesting to see how these drivers handle some of the narrow sections of this racetrack. These cars have a lot of horsepower, and it gets pretty narrow in some of these areas. When we start putting them too wide, as Xavier Sanchez completes his lap, looks like he moves up just a little bit, stays 6th place. I'm sorry, jumps up to the 3rd place with just a little bit of an improvement there.
Yeah, nicely done. And he was briefly pipped by Wade Sheedy, but he just went faster than Wade's second lap. So that's going to be your second row there, Sanchez and Sheedy. Nieva's first lap was only good enough for 11th, considering the pace he's shown in the races. That's going to be a bit of a struggle for him if that's where he begins. So the number 11 brings it out of turn 9 down to the last chicane once again. This is a quick entry into this corner, really needing to get the exit right with it, dumping you onto the front stretch. A little bit of blinking. Hopefully that doesn't discount his lap as well as he crosses the line. It's not any quicker, so Nieva will only be 11th.
Looks like that's going to do it for all of our cars out here in qualifying. At least for a competitive lap time, we should have our starting grid for you all here in just a second.
Indeed. And as I mentioned earlier, Sebastian Tixier takes the pole position. It's over Bill Tyler this time, as Xavier Sanchez will start from third, flanked by Wade Sheedy, as we reported. Ben Zocco at one of his home tracks here, starting fifth. He'll have Ove Trangrade P6, and John Olson struggling a little bit today, apparently, starting only from seventh. Laust Olson, no relation, starts from P8, and David Rossi will be ninth. Richard Watson starts P10.
Jorge Nieva, that we were just riding along board with not too long ago, they're in 11th spot. Glenn Becker rounds out the 6th row in 12th. Robert Plumley there in 13th position. Jeff Saunders in 14th. Michael Grissinger rounding out the top 5. Marco Lopez Salgado there in 16th spot. Paul Wilson 17th. Steve Morris in 18th. Gary Ho 19th. And Cam Porter 20th position.
Tobias Harnvey will be 21st. Roberto Pongrazi will start 22nd. That's Brad Cathcart in 23rd. Yuri Geisen will begin P24, followed by Jan Steven in 25th. Bjorn Ackerman starts 26th spot. And then the inside of the next row sees Matt Wright with Timothy Porter to his outside. Andrew Ang starts 29th, and 30th will be Doug Nelson. The final four did not set times. Alejandro Fernandez, Merrifield, Reynolds, and Montiel. So a couple of names that I am not as familiar with back there. Might be some newcomers, maybe just dipping their toes into this one. Standing start on their way down towards the first corner. We'll see if they're able to make it through there, with everybody being eager, no doubt, to try and find track position early.
Looking at the temperature here, really nice, cool weather day. So I don't think we'll have to look at that at all later, but cars should be pretty hooked up and going fast.
And very windy, though. My goodness. Thankfully, these are not cars that really need the aerodynamics around some of the corners. But at 24 miles an hour, it could still buffet them a little bit. That's going to be a bit tricky if that changes direction rapidly on these drivers. But regardless, we'll keep an eye out as we're waiting for our pole sitter still to put himself onto the grid. A couple other cars are still missing out there as they get 2 minutes to try and grid up before they are left behind and have to start from the pit lane, which with as many cars as we have here today on such a small track, that might not be the worst idea. Just a couple more to go, as it looks like Tixier is now out there. David Rossi looks like he is gridded up. And we're still waiting on Pangrazi and Jason Merrifield, it appears. But they are all out there now. As the engines start to rev, that means the lights will come up. It's round 4 here today, and the green flag is out. Off the line, looks like Tixier is not doing so hot, is up to his outside. Bill Tyler closes in, but he's still on the wrong side, cuts back underneath, almost makes contact with the leader. Behind them, a fight for third as well, Sanchez and Sheedy. Sheedy's going to get into there as they weave into the chicane for the first time. Everybody having to tread carefully.
Yeah, it gets really narrow here, and this is the first time these competitors have been too wide on this racetrack. Unfortunately, Robert Plumley got spun around earlier, but pretty clean for Tixier, Bill Tyler, and Sheedy up front.
So things are looking fierce up at the top of the field here at the start. Drivers really wanting to try and get ahead while they can. Tyler closing under braking, but he outbrakes himself, ducking down to the inside. Wade Sheedy takes advantage. Sheedy's gone from 4th to 2nd on the first lap.
Great moves by Wade Sheedy. Finds himself up into the 2nd spot with the leader right there in front of him. Look at this, Ben Zocco now trying to take a look around Xavier Sanchez with the over-under. He will be in the slipstream, but not close enough to make a lunge into turn 1.
Sanchez trying to see if he can demote Bill Tyler yet another position, but he's not quite close enough this time, as they're mostly single file into the first corner. A little wide there in the background for Jorge Nieva, who manages not to lose the spot in the process. But already we're seeing just how tough it is to try and make passes here. Drivers basically snatching it up as soon as they see the door open.
Yeah, there's a few big movers further back in the pack. You know, I'm seeing maybe Steve Morris up there, up 5 positions. I know that Laust Olsen actually had a really good start on his initial standing start, was able to make his way up around Ove Trengrade, who had a terrible start. Ove's down 5 positions into 11th spot.
That's going to be frustrating to him, but no doubt he'll savor the chance to get into a lot of battles throughout the race itself. Sanchez he squirms on the power, trying to get that throttle down onto the front stretch, is being chased by Ben Zocco. Ben has a lot of impetus to perform well here today. Let's see if he can make his way onto the podium. He's not going to make the pass this time coming up into turn 1, as Wade Sheedy just took the fastest lap of the race, interestingly.
I see that. I really like the battle between the top 3, but let's not forget this 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th place is also just right here attached to it. So if any of these lead cars start to battle or go too wide, I feel like it's really going to condense things at the front.
Does look like we've lost Plumley and Harnvey into pit lane. Not sure what befell them at this stage, but we'll try and look into that a little later. Already on to lap 3. These go by quick. It's just over a minute around here with so few corners, and this car being a rocket ship in a straight line. We're going to hop on board with 2nd place Wade Sheedy, looking forward and trying to see if he could get the traction out of that final left-hander to catch up to Tixier.
Always love seeing the suspension movement on these cars. With the modern cars, you don't really get to see nearly as much of that, and with these old Lotus 49 machines, you get to see everything from the control arms, the steering angles, and even there's the brake caliper and disc right there.
Yeah, these things were wide open as they come down into turn 4 once again. Nieva's having a bit of a hard time today. For the second time, he has a problem into turn 1, just out-braking himself. This time he does lose positions.
It's been really interesting to see some of these cars. Also looks like a little bit of blinking there right in front of him. Not sure who that is, but it's easy to overstep the limit on the brakes in these cars. I'm seeing a couple competitors just kind of a small overstep, and it tends to hurt them pretty badly in terms of track position out there.
Well, track position is exactly what Sanchez has. Look at the train beginning to form already behind this 4th place driver. That's Zocco, Olsen, well, both Olsens, Laust and John, and Richard Watson all kind of stacking up. In fact, we have an onboard camera with Laust Olsen here today as he sits in 7th, up 1 from where he began. Now Tixier fights back on Sheedy and takes the fastest lap as we hop on board with Laust, looking at the various cars, kind of holding them up.
This really all started with Xavier Sanchez kind of just misstepping a brake zone off of the back straightaway, and now it's kind of lengthened back out, but we're headed down the back straightaway here. We're going to accelerate up through the gears into that really, really tricky brake zone one more time.
Yeah, this will be a perfect view here from on board as it comes over the rise. There's the corner finally. These braking zones are so long in these 49s, they have to brake so early, and then weaving back and forth before you finally get the brakes down again for turn 9. Behind them, someone just went off. That was Richard Watson. Looks like he did not get the brakes down for turn 9.
Unfortunately, the helmet and the steering wheel and the suit are bright red, but he did not keep it on the racetrack. He's going to fall all the way down. What I see is 15th position now, and look at the scrum that he finds himself in. When you find yourself in the mid-pack battle, it is tooth and nail to try to get out of there.
Well, he's already got a slipstream on Jeff Saunders here. He's going to look down to the inside. Hopefully he's going to make that first corner. Saunders does not fight him too hard. Ooh, the car squirms as it tries to find traction around the swift turn 1 and then slows it up into the chicane of 2 and 3, but he's ahead. That's 14th.
And into this single file section and back out onto the straightaway for him. Focus forward now for Richard Watson.
See if he can make up those lost positions as the cars jockey behind him, trying to see if they can find a place to maybe send one up the inside. Saunders, having lost one, now has Yuri Geisen just watching behind him and plunging down once more into turn 9. You can see how hard it is to get the car settled into that braking zone. Does look like Watson starting to pull away from this group, so He's got the car a little bit more under control in that number 13, and like you said, focus is forward. But we've had another problem at turn 9 with Roberto Prangrazi in the 32 now. So it looks like that might be Calamity Corner today.
Yeah, I think I saw Robert Reynolds a little bit further down, spun around as well. So not every competitor having the best of days out here, but it certainly looks like in the front, things are going pretty smoothly.
Oh, not for Nieva. He's gone from front to back, unfortunately. Well, sort of front. He was mid-pack, and now he's all the way down to 20th after he has an off. I think this one wasn't his fault, though. Yeah, I think he, unfortunately, was put off by a spinning Gabriel Montiel, and that sent him around. So just was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you can see the damage done to his position. Let's take a look at the replay.
Coming down here into turn 1, this is Jorge Nieva. This has been his problem area all... Oh, no, like you said, Joe, he's just trying to get down underneath that car, and that's ultimately what upsets it.
Yeah, he had to lock him up, keep it from going completely around, but he was already in the grass, so everybody was streaming by, and there's not much he could do from there. It is still Tixier leading Sheedy, leading Tyler at the front of the field. I'm very impressed with Wade Sheedy, though, and the way that he went from 4th to 2nd very quickly and then hasn't relinquished it since then. It's just been smooth sailing for him, but it doesn't seem like he's got the legs to pass Tixier. In fact, he's about 1.5 seconds behind currently.
Really good battle up here as Wade Sheedy actually goes all 4 wheels off in the chicane. I'm not sure if that's a slowdown or not, but that puts Bill Tyler right up on the back bumper.
Yeah, I'm checking his timing, and he is being given a black flag for a slowdown. They have to give that time back, and this is probably going to be here on the front stretch, or at least I would hope it'd have to be, or else he's going to get a drive-through penalty. Now he has served it. Wow, and he hasn't given up the spot, but he's going to be vulnerable. Bill Tyler sizes him up. Does he try and send one down the inside? He's looking for it, and then decides against it.
Bill Tyler was really aggressive on the brakes earlier in the race, and it caught him out. It seems to look like he calmed things down a little bit. He needs a better opportunity to try to make that lunge.
That was a pretty good opportunity, though. So, man, if he can't get it even with the slowdown of the car ahead, that tells you just how tough it is to overtake. And as they come down the backstretch, Sheedy starts to stretch his legs out and it cannot be overtaken here into turn 6. Sounds like Ove Trangrade is starting to get some action forming as he approaches the back of that group being led by Ben Zocco.
Yeah, Wade Sheedy is just trying to hang on to that second place here. This is the number 10 car we're watching. Bill Tyler continues the assault on second place. And another thing to note, Xavier Sanchez has now entered himself in the picture here. He is the 3rd car in line.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he has picked up the pace, something fierce, and is now vying for a potential podium. But once again, Tyler doesn't seem to have the legs and is just unable to put himself in attacking position on Wade Sheedy. But what about Ove Trangrade versus Laust Olsen? Well, no change there either. But Olsen now has to have chameleon eyes watching forward on John, trying to attack him as he tries to defend on the Norwegian.
And interesting, once Trangrade caught Laust said, all right, time to go. And all of a sudden, these 2 cars now have sucked up to the back of John Olsen and Ben Zocco. 3 cars battling for 2nd place, 4 cars battling for 5th.
Breaking into turn 6, everybody just tiptoeing their way through, making sure that they don't put their wheels off like we saw with Wade Sheedy, as that could be very harmful to their positions in this tight-knit of a group. Down into the final chicane once again. Trangrade is looking like he's climbing all over the gearbox of Laust Olsen now. He could have a good shot. No, but the car's a little too loose coming around the jink of turn 13.
I love the personality that these cars have. He's in the slipstream. He is definitely feeling some aggression right now. Ove had that poor start. He's trying to make up for it on the racetrack.
Yeah, still down 2 from where he began, so it's all still being made up if he can at least get back to where things started for him. And it doesn't look like he's got it there now, coming off of turn 4 up the hill as they race alongside the horse track. And then down into the braking of turn 6 once again. Still, nobody seems to be able to do anything. Patiently waiting, hoping for a door to open amongst any of these four.
I think patiently waiting is perfect right now. We're working lap 11, almost lap 12 here. We're not even halfway through the race. These cars are still pretty close to the leaders. And then, oh no, looks like we've got a car off. I'm not sure who that was. It looks like Gabriel Montiel down there having some more issues in 31st place. But Ove Trengray definitely can spot himself on the podium, I feel.
I think that was Doug Nelson. Yeah, that was Doug Nelson back there. He's creeping back onto the track now, but obviously a lap down as we watch the battle between Sanchez and Bill Tyler. That was closed up because of that car off track. I think both of them having to slow up for them. Sanchez has one of the best opportunities he's seen all race, but can he take advantage of it into the fearsome turn 6? Doesn't look like it. He's going to have to stay single file for now.
You saw how close Sanchez was, and he still couldn't be able to make that move on Bill Tyler. It's just a funnel going into that brake zone. This racetrack is so tricky.
Coming into the last chicane once again, a little bit more lap traffic in front of him. Timothy Porter is up there. His brother's another one that's given us an onboard cam today. We'll see if we can get that up later. But once again, Bill Tyler just has to run his racing line, and Sanchez can't seem to try and get the overlap that he needs.
It's the variable of the lapped car, though, and especially in this tricky area. This is going to be leading out onto the back straightaway. We're going to see if this car affects any of these runs on acceleration.
Oh, it definitely is backing up our leader, because suddenly Tixier, our second place driver, I should say, Wade Sheedy, has lost a ton of time to this group. Now Bill Tyler closing in, and gets onto the binders. He's not going to be able to do it there. So it has gone from a battle to third to now a battle for P2.
Really close racing between Sheedy, Tyler, and Sanchez. I'm not sure which one is the fastest right now, but I know they all want that second place spot.
Yeah, this is the opportunity that they've been looking for. Still lots of racing yet to go. We're only a third of the way through as we hop on board with Sanchez, looking up at the pair of them. Coming into the braking of turn 1, nobody's going to get a chance this time by. And we have to remember that, yes, it may have looked slightly different, but this car actually did race at this track, albeit in the B-spec version in 68.
Really interesting stuff to note there. Cool history lesson, Joe. I always like learning all those little facts. And jumping back, this is 8th place Ove Trengray. We were following this battle a little bit earlier, but look at how close John Olsen, Laust Olsen is right now, headed down the back straightaway. But once again, it's that tiny little funnel of a brake zone.
Indeed. Coming up to 6th, there is a little poke from Laust Olsen once again. He's got to watch out because Ove's probably going to pounce as soon as he sees him leave that opening with maybe a poor exit. See if we can get that onboard cam with Laust Olsen here. See if the pucker cam is going and what kind of emotions he's experiencing as we look over his shoulder. So far, not close enough to John Olsen to be able to do anything this time. And actually, Ove Trengray looks like he had a poor exit off the final corner.
What's going to be interesting is this lap car that kind of was in the way for that second place battle is now going to be in the middle. And Ove Trengray actually looks around the inside of Laust Olsen. What a surprising move from the number 7 machine to get it done before the straightaway. Oh my goodness, that was a great pass.
I know this is the first time that we've called a race here on GSRC, but I did not expect the pass to happen into turn 2 of all places. So great job by Ove Trengray. That was incredibly savvy.
And it looks like Bill Tyler as well and Xavier Sanchez are moving around a little bit, but here's the replay. Ove Trengray late on the brakes underneath Laust Olsen. You see, completely surprised Laust.
Sometimes you just got to be on your toes in that way. And yeah, Sanchez tried to go by Bill Tyler, but couldn't complete the pass. So that cost them a bit of time to Wade Sheedy. There you can see them on screen now. Ooh, he outbrakes himself. Thankfully does not run into his rival, but Sanchez now has to regain about 9/10 of a second.
That's one of the areas that you can go in a little bit deep without too much penalty. You see him, a little bit slower in the lap time, a little bit further back, but didn't go off track and didn't hit a wall.
Yeah, as long as you're still racing, it's not over yet. So he gets back on it as we jump farther back into the field. This is Matt Wright, another driver racing at a bit of a home track, and he's up 12 positions. Struggled in qualifying today, but has shown that he had plenty of pace in his pocket. That is Cam Porter in front of him.
Certainly, and it looks like, Matt Wright is our biggest mover right now. Like you were saying, started 27th, up 12 positions currently inside the top 15, and that's Jorge Nieva that's right behind him. But like you said, he's looking for 14th spot on Cam Porter.
Coming out onto the run down to the final chicane here, Cam Porter just ahead of Wright with Nieva on his recovery drive. Gary Ho is in there behind, and Michael Grissinger. Seen a lot of these little slipstream trains that seem to be forming as drivers unable to overtake as quickly as they desire.
I think it's because the racetrack can be really narrow. Couple that with the old tires that they're on, it can be very difficult in some of these slow sections to race side by side. But this battle for 14th is certainly showing that it can condense into one big battle, and any misstep over the limit can put you way far back.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, just ask Nieva about that. And he is a perfect example as this group comes up to turn 6. Actually, pleasantly surprised at how few major incidents we have seen so far, because we've lost Doug Nelson, Roberto Pangrazzi, Robert Plumley, and Tobias Harnvey. Is this kicking off up for the battle for second or for third here potentially? Sanchez has got back up. He's going to chuck it in turn 4, and he actually makes it stick.
That was a really good move by Xavier Sanchez, but look at the exit, really affected him. Bill Tyler's in the slipstream now. We've seen this narrow funnel of a brake zone, not a good passing opportunity. Bill Tyler's going to press his luck, not get up in there, though. Xavier Sanchez holds on to the spot.
Ambitious stuff, but man, the aggression that we're having to see some drivers take to get these moves done is something else. And to finish off what I was saying before, Tobias Harnby, the other driver that we have lost so far. Oh no, David Rossi! I spoke too soon about problems out on track. Robert Reynolds looks like he might be involved. Wonder if he was just being lapped by David and it just went south.
It's this replay here of exactly how it happened. This is coming off of the back straightaway here. David Rossi in that red machine, the number 14. This is that really tricky funnel.
Oh, he didn't anticipate him breaking that early, I think. Wow, yep. Absolutely punted him off.
Yep. And it's something that we actually learned very early in racing. It's called target fixation. You want to go to the open spot, but your eyes are staring at the car in front of you, and where you're looking, you're going to go to.
Well, yeah, that was... I wouldn't have anticipated that either. It's understandable that he wound up making contact there. That happened in a hurry. A bit of a shame. Rossi has a very, very damaged car, but he's actually carrying on in 13th of all places. Can't really see it from this angle, but he's missing the nose cone of this machine in its entirety now. There it is.
It's just a little bit of a bigger air inlet. His feet have some air conditioning now.
Meanwhile, coming back up towards the front in the battle for P3, Sanchez, well, no, for P2 now, actually. Sanchez got by Tyler, and it's caught up to Wade Sheedy. So Xavier has, they have a lot of traffic in front of them. On top of that, Bjorn Ackerman, Alejandro Fernandez, Gabriel Montiel. Most of them, though, look to be pulling off to the side, not wanting to become a hindrance.
This is definitely going to affect the battle, though. We might have one or two pull off to the side, but you got to remember, they are in their own fight on the racetrack, and it's up to these leaders to make their way through safely, and we're already seeing Wade Sheedy get held up right here.
And somebody completely off track. That's Montiel. So that's the lapped car just diving off into the gravel, and thankfully it doesn't interrupt them. Down to the braking of 11 and 12. And then finally having to accelerate through 13. Sanchez can't get the power down as strongly as Wade Sheedy. We've seen Wade show up a number of times this season, and it looks like he's going to stick around. And not only that, looks like he is going to be a major force.
He's definitely got the speed week after week, and right now he's showing it at this new circuit to iRacing, and looks like he's got one more car to make his way through. That's a lapped car. Xavier Sanchez is still right on the back, and Sanchez actually looks to get a pretty good run onto the back straightaway.
This will also be Wade's first podium. Is struggling to stay on the track. That was Fernandez there, again trying to stay out of the way. But yeah, Wade hasn't sprayed the champagne yet this season. We'll see if this is the time to finally do it. Even if he gets demoted by Sanchez, he's still in third as long as he doesn't get overtaken by both Xavier and Bill in this situation. Coming into 11 once again, trying to set themselves up. You can see how tightly they hold to that first part of the chicane to really open up the second half of it.
Wade Sheedy just needs to keep a level head on his shoulders. He's doing a great job out there. You compare fast laps, he might not have the outright pace that Xavier Sanchez has right now, but he's hitting his marks, and that's what is important when it comes to racing. Doing fast laps and completing a race are two totally separate things.
Oh no, Ben Zoko's off. Oh, it was looking like such a good race here for him. I think this is in turn one. Oh, looks like he had some help. I think John Olsen may have made some contact here.
Unfortunate. I had been keeping my eye on Ove Trengrade, who is right behind this. He probably has a great view on board of exactly what happened here in turn one, but that promotes Ove up into the top 5.
There you go. He's just picking him off bit by bit as we ride on board. And yeah, I wonder if he just outbraked himself a little bit and locked wheels. That's going to send him off. Well, Sanchez had a move on Sheedy as we were watching that replay. It was not successful. Kind of bit him, actually, because he's now lost ground to Wade, and Bill Tyler is on the back of him once again.
So I've been watching battles throughout the field, and one thing I've noticed is when a car makes a big move and isn't able to get past, or even if they are able to get past, wow, Bill Tyler really laid on the brakes there. It almost seems to overheat the tires, and it needs a couple laps to kind of collect itself again. But here's Xavier Sanchez, as close as he's ever been to Wade Sheedy.
Oh, the car is trying to gain control through that kink. They are going so fast through there, almost 140 miles an hour. But Sanchez is ahead as long as he can shut the door. Does he?
Yeah, I think there was damage. I think there was contact. And here's Sheedy around. I think there was contact on the straightaway, and that threw off the alignment on Wade Sheedy. Oh, no.
Well, they also overtook some lapped cars. I wonder what... Yeah. Or was that maybe from hitting the curb wrong? That is absolutely bizarre.
I am not sure. I'm going to go back and double check all of this and see exactly where it happened. Yeah, it happened on the curb, the second left-hander before. If we ride along board here, no, it's already broken. It's already broken.
Here we go. Okay, so this is 11 and 12. Did he get hit from behind?
Sure enough, he certainly did. I have gone back and taken a look at it, and it looks like Wade Sheedy and Xavier Sanchez in the final chicane here just came into contact wheel to wheel, and that is what threw off Wade Sheedy.
Oh, goodness. And he's got a lot of laps to drive it like this, which he actually still is. He's out there. He hasn't visited pit lane yet. And we're on lap 24. He's running 8th. I'll be amazed if he can bring this home driving the car like that. Look at the thing.
I agree. I don't see how it's going to be possible, and he might just hit the frustration wall eventually here in a couple laps.
So that's Richard Watson going by right now. To his credit, he's trying not to fight anybody too hard. I think he's in survival mode naturally, and car's gonna, despite not tracking straight, is up to 150 miles an hour here, 160. Surely that's got to be absolutely burning up the tires.
I've been there, done that, and as long as it's not shaking, everything's all good.
Whoa, there's a big catch, and now he clatters the wall. That's the big problem there, is it's probably not handling as he'd like, and that could make the damage worse. Yeah, in fact, I think it did. It looks like it's even less straight than it was before.
Yeah, I think that Wade Sheedy is going to need to bring this car into pit road before it ends up collecting somebody else. And talking about somebody else, Jorge Nieva with more problems today.
Another spin as he touched the grass on the way into turn 2. Car gets chucked off into the weeds, and he falls back to 19th after he had made up about 3 or 4 more positions from before. So the number 11, not going to be able to write home for this one. Just going to have to put it in his back pocket, forget about it, and go on to the next track, which, as I said in the intro, we've got 3 tracks in a row that have never been raced in the Grand Prix Legends series. So it's basically brand new territory for many of these drivers. Now, Sanchez and Tyler may have lost their buddy, but they're still going to have fun with each other. Tyler takes a big look into turn 6, but can't get it done.
And ever since Sanchez and Sheedy had their incident, it really brought Bill Tyler back up into this lead battle. And here down this final short shoot of a straightaway, this is into that tricky chicane where we saw Xavier Sanchez get into the back of Sheedy, but looks like both of them make it through cleanly this time.
Tixier looking for his 4th ever win in this series. It took him a long time to get the first one. It was honestly something that we anticipated for quite some time, watching, hoping that maybe he could eventually tick that box. Whoa, somebody in the background spinning. Montiel causing a bit of consternation for Ove Trangerade, and Ove is going to lose 2 spots because of it. Has to go off track, and Laust Olsen and John Olsen just snuck by.
Wow, this is going to be really interesting to see if Ove can gather the tires back up. He was one of the cars that really suffered from that overheating, and now that he finds himself in the 6th spot, he needs to get back up and around Laust and John if he wants to have a good points haul.
Despite being the current reigning champion, Ove has yet to take a podium this season. Oh, and yeah, the car not looking so hot there, coming over the curbs, just bounding as he overshoots turn 6 a little bit. And so he's still in 6th place, so not bad in positioning, but he's not been seeing the success he did last time out. That is for certain. That's going to be Wade Sheedy with Marco Salgado trying to overtake him, and amazingly, Wade holds on to the spots.
Wade has proven me wrong out here. This has been one of his tricky areas. A right-hander, though, the car gets really out of shape. You see a big wiggle there, but through the left-handers, it seems okay. Down the straightaway, not the fastest car. You're going to see Mark Salgado just drive right by him, but it's mainly the right-handers that are causing the problems. Thankfully, Sandown, majority left-hand turns.
Exactly, yeah. It's not a terribly complex track in terms of layout, so he's got that to his advantage, probably why he's fighting as hard as he is up to this point. So we watch them come onto the backstretch as Salgado doing a lot better than we've seen him do in the past. He qualified in 16th. He's up 7 spots, and the number on his car, that's according to iRating. So the number 18 running in 9th.
Yeah, really impressive there, and good run from Salgado up into the top 10. Got Richard Watson way up in front of him, though, and going to have some work to do.
That was Sheedy on screen with a huge drift catching the car in the background. Somebody off course there. I was trying to see who that was. Oh, David Rossi off again. What happened here? It was trying to lap Tim Porter, lost control of the car. I think he got away without hitting the wall. Yeah, he did, just barely. Oh, Tyler and Sanchez, wheel to wheel here. We're coming down to the end of it. Sanchez had enough of this. He's going to try and make his moves now all the way through side by side, down through 6, 7, 8, and 9, and he actually gets it done.
Yeah, Bill Tyler still trying to get that place. Xavier Sanchez trying to hold on to second. What a great battle here with going to be 1 lap to go, it looks like. Sorry, 2 laps to go. Leader's already crossed the line.
Yeah, it is down to the end of it. So as Sanchez brings it into turn 2, now he's got the desired track position. Bill Tyler still hovering behind. It's basically battle for best of the rest because Tixier leads by 11 seconds ahead of these two as they come over turn 4 onto the backstretch. Oh no, Laust Olsen. Laust Olsen's now had a problem. He's going to lose the spot to Ove Trangrade. And once again, Trangrade made a move into turn 2. This is interesting. Twice in the race. I think on the same driver. Didn't he do that on Laust before?
That's what I was just going to say, Joe, is that he took out the old move and looks like he did it on Laust again, although it looks like Laust struggled on the exit of turn 1. That's what really opened the door for Ove, and as you see, Laust this time taking the agricultural route.
So he's down to 7th. They also lost out to Ben Zoko in that process. Ben back into P6 with Laust now trailing him as we watch the replay here. And that's the 7 of Trangrade up into the top 5. Well, I'd love to come back here and see these cars race here again. This has been a fantastic show they've been putting on. But we'll see how the drivers feel about it after today. And the damage that we're seeing on the noses, we saw Sanchez, I know, get into... Well, that's not Sanchez. That is Tyler that we're looking at there in the number 4. So how did he get the damage on the nose of the car?
Yeah, I'm not sure that, because Bill Tyler's been battling with Sanchez, also John Olsen, if you remember Wade Sheedy as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they rubbed elbows somewhere, but actually our leader is coming through the final chicane right now. Sebastian Tixier has dominated this entire race, and he's looking at the checkered flag right now.
A victory for Seb Tixier, who has yet to take a championship in this series. Is going to finish a good 11 seconds ahead of Sanchez, who fought hard for this podium. Tyler takes 3rd. Olsen, unfortunately, going to be just shy of it down there, P4, leading Ove Trangrade home. Where is Wade Sheedy in all this? Oh, he's leading a train of cars. If he can hold on to this 11th place, that'll be magnificent, but they're going to be climbing all over the rear of that thing. In fact, look at them. It's a traffic jam behind him.
Cam Porter is involved in that mess. I know that we were covering him as well. And Wade Sheedy just has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, almost 10 cars packed up behind him.
Unbelievable defensive driving from Wade Sheedy. Credit to him. That's amazing. I can't believe he held that many cars behind him all the way to the finish in a crabbing car. Wow. Okay, so... That's not top 10 material there for Wade Sheedy, or top 10. I don't know. It depends on how you view it as they finish up the race. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. championship with that. Sebastian, that was a clinical run out there. Basically took the pole and never looked back. Sebastian, that was a...
Hello? Yeah, because I couldn't hear on the broadcast. Sorry, can you repeat the question?
It's okay. Yeah, that was a very clinical run out there. Looked like once you had the pole and took off from the line, you never looked back.
Yeah, well, clinical, that's not the word I would use, because I would like to apologize to Bill. I forgot to do a start practice from the grid, and I saw him on my right. I'm on VR, and I was like, well, I don't know where to brake, and I braked too late, and he avoided me. Yeah, so sorry about that. And after that, I was a bit nervous, but my teammate was behind me, Wade. So we are happy. Like, yeah, we could do P1, P2, and then I got more confidence on the tires, and I could push, and yeah, be careful with the back marker.
Now, the wind was absolutely atrocious today from the stats. It was 22 miles an hour. Could you feel that at all out there, or were you unaware of it buffeting around?
No, because this track is so bumpy, and you have to attack the curb so much. So, is it the wind? Is it the curbs? Is it the bump? I don't know.
I guess that's a good thing in the end, and you definitely managed it extremely well. So, okay, this is the first of 3 tracks in a row that the Grand Prix legends have never visited. Do you consider yourself pretty adaptable that you can show up at these tracks and be successful right off the bat?
This track, I know it very well, because the main theory I'm running is VI supercars on the Australian time zone, because I'm in Singapore. So I drove this track a lot already. So yeah, for me it was not really new, but on the for the Lotus, it's really suit the car, because the car can attack the curbs very well. So yeah, I think it's a nice track with this car. Yeah.
It certainly looked a lot of fun. Congratulations on the latest win, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you when we're back at France.
Thank you.
Seb Tixier, your winner here today. Up next, I believe, looks like I think we got Ben Zocco, who finished 6th. Let's let Joey talk to him.
Ben, congratulations on the 6th place finish there. I saw you were up in the battles for the first half of the race. Take us through the race really in your eyes, and how did you like the Sandown circuit?
Oh, I love the Sandown circuit. It's so much fun to drive. I think it really suits the car too. So yeah, I had decent qualifying, and knew that it's hard to pass, especially with the people that were around me doing the same pace. So I was kind of driving conservatively, just braking a bit earlier than I needed to, not being too aggressive, trying to just maintain my starting position, or whatever I might have gained from other people spinning out. And that was going pretty well, but eventually John just I just missed his braking marker a little bit and came into the corner, and I saw him last second in the mirrors, and I tried to open the steering and give a bit more room, but it was just one of those things where the timing of it, me seeing him coming, opening the steering, just meant that his trajectory just went into mine more than if I had just taken the corner normally. It doesn't matter, these things happen, it's racing. And then the car was fine, so I was able to push, and I didn't care so much afterwards, so I pushed and did some personal bests. Caught up to the guys ahead. I think Laust got a slowdown, and he was trying to give it back on the straight, and it was the second last lap, so I thought this is my only chance to make a move, so I made a pretty bold move here into turn 6, and I think it's turn 6 anyway. Sorry to Laust as well, it was a bit of a dive bomb, and it meant that he had to he didn't have to take evasive action. I'm not sure. I looked at the replay, and I think that the speed that he was carrying, he wasn't going to be able to make that corner on track anyway.
Oh, well, Laust had an up and down day as well. Sorry to interrupt you there. Keep going. Right. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I could sort of see him behind me on the relative throughout the race as well, and I was actually looking forward to over catching up, maybe getting by John and catching me, so that we could have some classic Ove Zoko battles side by side racing. That was probably the only the main disappointment from this race, was that it. I would have liked to have had some epic side by side battles. But no, it was just lapping by myself consistently and then charging at the end, making the move on Laust, and then just defending that last lap so that I didn't lose it back. Bit of damage limitation.
Yeah, I'm happy to see that you had at least some of those battles earlier on. And you're right. You're looking at timing and scoring. You were stomping off lap times, consistent lap times, and your fast lap was right up there with the leaders as well. So you definitely had the speed out there on the racetrack at Sandown. Looking at the next racetrack, Manicor is another one that's new for this Lotus 49 series. How do you feel going into that one?
Good to hear that it's next. I have mixed feelings about it. Good to see it on our schedule, and I'm really happy to race at like a new track. I know the track well from many other sims in the heyday, but it's not a track that I particularly gelled with or anything. But the fast chicanes should be good, and I think it should promote some decent racing. I think that these modern Grand Prix tracks in this historic car means that you actually do get some good racing. I feel like even a track like Barcelona that came on a couple of years ago, it might be a hard track to pass at, but it seems to bring the cars close together, and you do have battles, and of course there are passing opportunities. So I think Magny-Cours will be really, really interesting.
Well, hopefully we see you out there and we see those classic, what'd you call it, Ove, Zoko, Laust battles?
Yeah, something like that. Any battle with anyone, but Ove and I have had some good battles in the past. He's usually faster than me, so seeing him coming up from behind, I knew I was going to have a fight on my hand, and I was going to defend it to the death, and he wouldn't expect anything less.
Yeah, well, like I said, congratulations on the 6th place finish tonight, Ben, and that's going to do it here for him. It looks like we've got a few more interviews. Laust Olsen is standing by with Joe.
Indeed, 7th place for Laust. And I got to ask, because we were certainly taken aback by the couple of passes that Ove made on you into turn 2. Did those kind of come by surprise for you as well?
When you have Ove behind you, you cannot get away with even the smallest mistakes. And both times I made mistakes exiting the first corner there, and that allowed him to the chance to pass me. And the second time I didn't want to yield, but then had to take the shortcut and slow down instead. So that was a really bad choice. That allowed Ben to pass me also later or on the same lap. So really bad choice, actually. Quite annoyed with myself about that.
Sometimes we all make mistakes and just got to move on from there. But I mean, other than that, how do you feel about this circuit? Because everybody else has been saying they had an absolute blast, and I know we had fun watching the racing from up here.
Yeah, it's a fun circuit to drive, and you get some really close. The field gets closed up, but it's very difficult to pass here. When you are fighting with someone like John, who doesn't make mistakes, then and also get good exits from the corners, then it's impossible to get by. I actually think that today I was actually quicker than John for once, but couldn't get the exits, and he doesn't make mistakes, so not a chance to pass him. So great track to drive, but difficult to pass other people.
Despite Mick running away with a couple and now Sebastian Tixier being able to kind of stretch away from everybody, it seems like it's a bit mixed up out there, because I'm seeing we've only had, I think, 3 or 4 drivers that have taken more than one podium already in 4 rounds. What do you think is making this one a little bit upside down?
I don't know. I don't know. I think, that's a good question. I really don't have an answer. I'm just a little bit too slow to be in that podium hunt, but perhaps it's a mixing of people coming and going. Perhaps, I don't know. Difficult to say.
Yeah, it's hard to figure out. It's a bit of a head scratcher. Still, you managed to top 10. Congratulations on that. Hopefully we'll see you out at France.
Thanks. See you.
As Laust Olsen finishing 7th today, which is going to wrap us up. So we want to give a big thank you to the Grand Prix Legends community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And also thanks to the team today, Rob, Joey, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. But also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. The next race for this series is Manny Core, Saturday, January 14th at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. But be sure to check out our other broadcasts, including the Majors Team Endurance Challenge, which is at Le Mans right now for a 12-hour race. That's going to be going for much of today. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.